Question from Martian: is traveling through branchial space like traveling through a wormhole? Not really. A wormhole is a different. A wormhole is a connection between two things where space is like, oh, it's like a grid or something, but then there's just this one sort of space tunnel. There's this one extra thread that connects one part of the grid to another part of the grid. That's more like a wormhole. I actually talked about this a bunch in the post that I wrote recently about faster than light, about things going faster than light. I tried to talk about how wormholes relate and so on.
By the way, I think you may be being a little overly dismissive of that question. I mean, that question is basically asking whether ER equals EPR is true, right? Because a wormhole is is a shortcut through a causal network. Is a piece of the causal network that's not part of the continuum Lorentzian structure. A quantum entanglement is essentially a shortcut through branchial space. It's a part through branchial space that's not part of the continuum geometrical structure. And ER equals EPR is sort of conjecturally making the claim that the two things are related. And I think that's kind of what this question is.
Okay, that's okay. I'm sorry, I jumped too quickly there, and you might be, but let me just challenge the point about an entanglement being a non. I mean, in what sense the structure of branchial space is determined by micro entanglements? So in what sense?
In the same way that you can think of space, the structure of space-time is being determined by micro.
All right, okay. So you're saying a long-range entanglement is like a wormhole. That's a good point, actually. That's a very good point. So you're saying a wormhole in space is like a long-range entanglement in branchial space.
Right, exactly. So in both cases, they're features that you've engineered in order to ensure greater correlation between 2 points than would otherwise have happened naturally. It's just that one is using the structure of the causal network and one is using the structure of branchial space.
Actually, that's a really interesting way to think about the ER equals EPR story. It's basically to say that there exists the presence of non-local kind of non-standard spatial connections. How is that related to the presence of non-local, non-standard branchial connections? And is that the case? Okay, that's actually a really good formulation. So let me think about that for a second. Is it the case that inevitably in the multi-way causal graph that those two things are related? I bet it is. I bet it is. I bet that I'm sure that that's something we could probably prove. Okay, thank you to Martian there. This is what I like about live stream stuff. Okay, and my mistake for having taken that at the wrong level. Okay, Christian is asking.